My First Girlfriend is a gal. It's the anime that introduced me to what a garu is and started my obsession. I can't believe it's been 8 years since the anime premiered. And it's basically been a decade since the manga started. I believe it started in November 2015. It was a solid anime, but it never got a season 2. In fact, the first season only has 10 episodes compared to the normal 12 or 13 most anime get. The ending of the anime didn't leave on the biggest cliffhanger, but like most people, I was still left wondering what happens next. Hey y'all, it's Broken, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I thought it'd be fun to cover what happens after the anime in My First Girlfriend is a Gal. I tried getting into the manga back in the day after I finished the anime, but it just wasn't as good as the anime, especially when you compare it to the English dub. The English dub is still hilarious and holds up. But now I'm in the mood to give the manga another shot, and I thought I'd make a video about it in the process. So I'm gonna give you guys a recap and my thoughts on season 1, and then we'll move into what happens after the anime. So for those that haven't seen the anime in a long time, or haven't seen it at all, let me give you a recap of season 1. We're introduced to Junichi, a normal high school boy who wants nothing more than a girlfriend. Well, to be more precise, he doesn't particularly want a relationship, he just wants to play Super Smash Bros. If you get my drift. His friends persuade him to ask out Yukana, a garu. They convince him that since she's a garu, she must be easy. So if he's able to get her to go out with him, he'll easily be able to play Super Smash Bros. So he goes to ask her out, and she calls him out for the exact reason why he's asking her out.
No, I know why. You think I'm hot and easy and you'll get laid, is that right? That explains why you're so desperate. What? No.
But surprisingly, she still ends up agreeing to going out with him, which always bothered me. I mean, so far he's just shown himself to be a perverted guy who just wants her for her body. But yet, she still says yes to going out with him. We don't even see him being kind or nice, which is normally at least the surface level reason why these girls in these kind of animes fall for the main guy. I mean, what girl would go out with a guy who's reading dirty magazines in the middle of class? Anyway, this is where their relationship begins. So in the beginning, Junichi really isn't the greatest guy. Like I mentioned before, because Yukana is a garu, he thinks that she's easy. He kinda just sees her as an object, kinda like a Nintendo Switch, and he just wants to play Super Smash Bros. Whenever they hang out, he often jumps to the wrong conclusion, believing that every move that she makes is a sign that she wants to play Super Smash Bros, only to be proven wrong. She's just trying to have a normal, healthy relationship with her boyfriend, but luckily by the end of the first season, he does truly love her. As Junichi's and Yukana's relationship develops, a cast of other girls who are interested in Junichi are introduced, creating the classic harem dynamic. There's Nene, his childhood friend. She openly has feelings for him and tries to win him over from Yukana, going as far as becoming a gal herself. Even though she's throwing herself at him, he has enough sense not to take advantage of her. Plus, he's not really attracted to her anyway. There's this whole running joke about her childlike appearance. Then there's Ranko, Yukana's best friend. For those that don't remember, she actually has a crush on Yukana, so she actively tries to break them up by having Junichi cheat on Yukana with her. But luckily, even though he tends to think with his other head and only really wants to play Super Smash Bros., he understands that cheating is wrong. Then there's Yui. On the surface, she's your average, nice, beautiful, smart, popular girl the main guy would normally have a crush on. They've also known each other since middle school, but her true personality is she's highly narcissistic and also has a crush on Junichi. Also, she secretly live streams in a cosplay, so that way no one can recognize her. So this colorful cast of characters really make for an enjoyable season 1. So what ends up happening at the end of the season? While out on a date, they end up bumping into one of Yukana's old middle school friends, who seems to be a total Chad compared to Junichi, leading Junichi to become pretty jealous, and he starts to feel insecure. She can tell that something's wrong, so she asks what's up, and he's honest with her. He tells her that he's jealous, that her and her middle school friend get along so well and that they're meant for each other, that he's just a loser compared to him. He goes on to say that he felt like she was embarrassed to introduce him as her boyfriend. She responds by saying, "So you don't trust me?" And he says, "Yeah, kind of." She then turns and runs off. Now, I commend him for being honest. Communication is one of the most important things in a relationship, and part of communication is telling your partner when you're upset. But at the same time, no girl wants to date a guy that's so insecure and jealous that he doesn't trust them, especially when they've done nothing wrong. he realizes that he's in the wrong, but before he can go and apologize, he runs into Yukana's middle school friend, who's talking trash about her. He stands up for her and deals with the guy, and then goes to find Yukana. He apologizes and properly asks her out. He admits that at first he just wanted to go out for perverted reasons, but now he truly is in love with her.
The first time I did this, I just asked you out without giving it much thought. I was only in it for that sweet...
She accepts his apology, and then they end up going on a date. At the end of their date, they share their first kiss, and that's basically the end of the anime. The ending to the anime is probably one of the best romance endings out there. I'm not kidding. I mean, they're legitimately dating and they shared a kiss. Sometimes in romance animes, we don't even get a kiss, let alone them actually dating. For example, in Nagatoro, after 24 episodes, it ends with them giving each other a hug. Like, come on now. So what happens after Junichi tells Yukana that he loves her? How is he gonna deal with the other girls trying to steal him away? Will we ever learn why Yukana actually said yes to going out with him? Well, we're about to find out. The thing is, the anime is really different from the manga. For example, the whole plot about Junichi getting jealous of Yukana's middle school friend, yeah, that never happens in the manga. Most people say that the anime is so different from the manga that it's worth just starting the manga from the very beginning, but we're gonna start at chapter 37, which is around where they share their first kiss. Even that plays out differently in the manga compared to the anime. So as of the recording of this video, there are 199 chapters of the manga. We're starting at around chapter 37, so we have plenty of ground to cover. So without further ado, let's get into what happens after the anime. So in the anime, they did have a beach episode, but they didn't go to the beach in the manga until after their first kiss. The beach arc is extended in the manga compared to the anime. We get the classic trope of the girls getting their hands on some candy that has a little bit of alcohol in it. So it leads to the girls being all over Junichi. After the beach, they end up going to an anime manga convention where Yukana gets jealous because he buys a gal manga. Bro, you have the real thing right there. What are you doing? On his birthday, she gives him a do whatever you want coupon. I wonder if that's gonna come into play later. We get introduced to Yui's little sister, Yuki, which kicks off a mini arc revolving around Yui. Her sister wants to help Yui steal Junichi away from Yukana. Oh, did I say little sister? I meant to say little brother. We learn that Yukana's dream is to run a sweet store that focuses on chocolate. Because of her little brother, Yui ends up confessing to Junichi once again. But to no one's surprise, he turns her down because he's with Yukana. We learn that they almost started dating back in middle school, but she didn't understand her feelings back then. But even after getting turned down again, she still hasn't given up and is fully prepared to be his number 2. So we went from chapter 37 to 61 and nothing too crazy happened. Well, we did get an arc centered around Yui, where now she's going to be more open about her feelings towards Junichi. I wonder how much that's going to play into the story. Let's jump back into it. And hey, if you're enjoying the video, please like and subscribe. It lets me know to do more videos like this. Yukana starts to realize how popular Junichi is with the other girls and starts to get jealous, which leads her to being a bit more aggressive. With all these girls around him, he catches the attention of the student council president, who believes that he's doing something nefarious. The president targets Yukana and ends up telling her that she can't dress like a gal at school anymore, which actually isn't the biggest deal in the world. Her clothes may have changed, but she's still the same person. It's kind of fun seeing her in normal school attire. After a while, the president comes around and takes a liking to Yukana. It's festival time and their class is doing a twist on the cosplay cafe. All the gals dress normal and all the normal girls dress like Garu. The festival ends with a kiss underneath the fireworks. So that was the school festival arc. We got introduced to the president, who I thought was going to be an antagonist, but she really isn't, and that was really disappointing. She doesn't stop them from doing the cosplay cafe. She doesn't try to steal Junichi away from Yukana. The worst thing she does is make Yukana wear normal clothes, which doesn't even bother her. I feel like they really dropped the ball when it came to the president and what they could have done with her, but you know, what can you do? Let's go ahead and continue on. After the festival, they end up going on a camping trip. Nene ends up cooking up some mushrooms that end up having a weird effect on them. For example, Renko ends up kissing Yui. Now she can't get Yui off her mind. Yukana and Junichi get some alone time during the trip, but they don't cross the line. It's just another fake out. Even after the camping trip, Renko can't get Yui off her mind. But after spending some time together, she realizes that she doesn't have any romantic feelings for Yui, it was just the mushrooms. Remember when earlier I said that Yukana wanted to become a sweets maker? Well, the president's grandma owns a sweets shop and offers Yukana a job, which of course she accepts. We skip to after exams, and now it's Christmas time. Because of her job, Yukana can't spend any time with Junichi, which leaves him feeling pretty depressed. Yui tries to take advantage of the situation and says, since your girlfriend doesn't have time for you on Christmas, why don't we spend time together? But she chickens out, not that Junichi would go for it anyway. Junichi's so lonely that he starts crying about it. Like, bro, pull yourself together, this is just pathetic. Suddenly, the other girls in the series show up at his place all dressed up in Santa outfits. Turns out Yukana's job is getting swamped and they need some extra hands, so they came to get Junichi for help. Once the store closes, they have a Christmas party. Turns out Yukana made all these cakes. That's why she was picking up extra hours at work, so she could practice on her baking skills. After the Christmas party, they go on a Christmas Eve date, but they lose track of time and she ends up missing her train. They end up having to get a hotel. Things are awkward at first, but then Yukana starts to let Junichi get a bit more physical. Things start to heat up and she starts to get a bit embarrassed. So he whips out the do anything you want coupon. He wants her to put on the apron that he bought her for Christmas while going commando. Junichi, you dirty dog you. But of course, before they can continue, the fire alarm goes off, killing the mood. So these last batch of chapters were basically the Christmas arc, and they were okay, nothing to really write home about. So that was chapters 74 through 102. Remember, there are 199 chapters, so we're a little over halfway through. So with us hitting chapter 100, you guys have probably already gotten the gist of how this manga is going to play out. Even though the other girls are trying to steal Junichi away, well at this point it's only really Yui, the central focus of the manga still remains on Junichi and Yukana. The constant pursuit from the other girls actually forces their relationship to become stronger. Junichi has to constantly prove his loyalty to Yukana, and in doing so, he matures. He's no longer just trying to play Super Smash Bros. He's genuinely trying to be a good boyfriend. Their relationship has grown from a simple let's try dating to a very real and emotional bond. They go on dates, deal with misunderstandings, and learn to communicate. It's a classic rom-com progression. So with that said, we're going to be skipping around a bit more than we already have to get to the more interesting and important story bits. That way I'm not boring you guys with the normal slice of life stuff. Unless you guys like when I go into more detail. If you do, please leave your comments down below letting me know. If enough of you guys saying that you like it when I go into more detail, then in future what happens after the anime videos, I'll go into more detail. Otherwise, in future videos, I'll just focus on the more interesting aspects of the stories. With that all said, let's go ahead and jump back into the manga. The president accidentally lets it slip that Yukana is going to be studying abroad in Paris. She figured that Yukana would have told her boyfriend by now. He confronts Yukana about it and she says she's going to be leaving during spring break, which is just a few weeks away. He's depressed that she's leaving, but he thinks it would be best to make some good memories before she goes. They go to an amusement park where Junichi hears about a legend. Legend has it, if you kiss at the castle, you'll be together forever, or something like that. Of course, the other girls want to try and use this legend to try to steal Junichi away, but we all know that's not going to happen. For some reason, Yukana doesn't want to go to the castle, which leads to him worrying and becoming insecure once again. Like, has she not learned that this guy does not like surprises or secrets? She hid from him that she's going to be studying abroad, which led to him feeling depressed. She hid the Christmas party from him, which made him feel lonely and insecure. And now she's being weird about the castle. Like, yeah, Junichi should work on his insecurities, but at the same time, if you know this man doesn't like surprises or secrets, stop surprising him and keeping secrets. Even fans at the time complained about her hiding secrets and her lack of communication. And surprise, surprise, he ends up lashing out at her because she's being so secretive. But they end up making up and promise no matter what happens, they'll overcome it together. So she leaves to study abroad, but she's only gone for 2 weeks. I guess she forgot to tell him that part. For those that didn't know, Ranko is a year ahead of everyone else and she just graduated. So she calls Junichi up to the rooftop for a final battle. Whoever wins gets Yukana. But of course, that was just her way of saying that she's leaving Yukana in his hands. So now it's time for Junichi to start thinking about his future. Yukana jokes that he should go to culinary school with her, which he kinda takes seriously. But after talking to Yui and the Prez, he realizes he probably shouldn't go to culinary school just to chase after his girlfriend. He has no love for cooking, so he figures he should find his own path. They pass their exams and get into the schools they wanted. Yukana and Junichi end up going on a solo trip to celebrate. He thinks that this time Yukana and him are finally going to go all the way. On this trip, we finally find out why Yukana said yes to going out with him. They literally ran into each other back in middle school. She dropped her stuff and he helped her pick it up. Later, she realizes that she doesn't have her phone and that she must have dropped it when they ran into each other. So she goes to the train's lost and found, and the train attendant says that a boy dropped it off. So years later, when Junichi asked her out, she decided to give him a chance. She admits at first she wasn't really taking their relationship seriously, that she was just trying to have some fun, but she ended up falling in love. Right when they're about to get physical, the other girls interrupt them. Turns out they were in the next room. Yukana says they'll try again next time. If I was Junichi, I would have been crashing out. So this marks the end of the high school portion of the series. That's right, it continues after high school into college, which is extremely rare for a romance manga that starts in high school. Normally they graduate from high school and that's it, like Nagatoro. So it's definitely surprising that out of all the manga out there, that this is one of the rare ones that continues after high school. To summarize my feelings on these last few chapters, I hated the lack of communication. Hopefully she's learned not to surprise him or keep secrets anymore. It's good to see them both on their own path, with her going to culinary school and him pursuing his own thing. I feel like the author pulled the reason why Yukana said yes to going out with Junichi out of his booty cheeks, but you know what? We'll roll with it. So now is the manga going to improve now that they're going to college? Because so far the manga really has not been impressing me. All it's really done is remind me why I didn't continue the manga after the anime. Or rather why I tried the manga and then dropped it. Well, let me go ahead and burst your bubble now. It's a good idea to move the characters to college, in a new environment, age them up a bit, but it's a bad execution. The manga kind of loses the plot and really dips in quality, but I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll get there. For now, let's get into their college beginnings. So they've just started college. Junichi and Yukana are going to separate schools, but the schools are both within Tokyo, so they're not really separated. Junichi and Yukana may not be going to the same school, but Junichi and Yui are going to the same school, so she's gonna have some more opportunities to try and steal Junichi away. Also, his best friend will also be going to the same school as him. The other two friends honestly really didn't matter. With them now being adults, they're both more straightforward about wanting to get physical. Junichi now has an apartment of his own. When Yukana comes over, they get interrupted once again. There's now a hole in the wall, so they can't really have alone time without possibly bothering the neighbor or the neighbor peeking in on them. We immediately get introduced to some new characters. Of course, now that he's living alone, his neighbor just so happens to be a beautiful girl. He joins the otaku club and finds out that the other new member, Kurihana, is also a cute girl. Then he finds out that the president of the otaku club is also a cute girl. The new club member, Kurihana, invites him back to her place after the introduction party of the club, and for some reason he agrees to go. After watching some anime, he tries to leave, but she stops him. Turns out she wants him to read her manga she's making. Yukana finds out that he was hanging out with another girl all by themselves and gets jealous. So she allows him to walk her back to his place. She gets a bit aroused by being naughty in public, and now she wants a reward. But of course, they get interrupted once again. Later, Kurihana, the girl that's working on the manga, comes up to Junichi and Yukana. They say that they want to make a romance manga, but they don't really have any romantic experience. So she ends up asking Yukana if she'll be her girlfriend, and she agrees without even discussing it with Junichi. She doesn't explain her thought process to Junichi. I thought we were past this whole non-communication thing. While on a date, Kurihana kind of starts talking trash about Junichi and asks Yukana why she's even with him. She explains that she just loves everything about him. Good answer. We then get the surprise return of Ranko, who we haven't seen in a while, and she's looking better than ever. Of course she's jealous and surprised to find out that Yukana has a girlfriend now. She didn't know that it was an option that she could be Yukana's girlfriend while Junichi was her boyfriend. She demands that Junichi explains everything, but the thing is that he doesn't know what Yukana is thinking. After chatting with Ranko, he feels a bit better about the situation. He finally gets a chance to talk to Yukana, and the thing is that she was just jealous of all the attention he was getting from all these other girls. So all's well that ends well. The next arc is about Junichi helping out his neighbor by pretending to be her boyfriend, but we're just gonna skip over that arc. So the college arc so far has just been really okay. Not terrible, at least not yet, just okay. Now that they're adults, they're a bit more intimate and open with each other. They've matured. The new girls aren't pursuing Junichi. Not even Yui is really pursuing Junichi anymore. I mean, she'll have her daydreams, but that's about it. So what else does college life have in store? Let's go ahead and continue on. Some ninja nonsense ends up happening, so we're just gonna skip over that arc too. Just to give a quick explanation, I think it had something to do with the neighbor girl needing money to save her family business. I kinda checked out during that arc. And I'm not gonna lie, chapters 160 through 197 kind of lose the plot. This is what I mentioned earlier when I was talking about the manga dipping in quality. And apparently I'm not crazy for thinking that. As these chapters were coming out, more and more fans were complaining about how off the rails the manga had gotten. So we're just gonna rapid fire the next 35 chapters until we get to the good stuff. They have a Garu photo shoot to raise money for the Otaku Club. He ends up helping Kurahana a lot more with her manga. He basically ends up becoming her partner, and we end up seeing a lot more of Kurahana than Yukana, his girlfriend. At this point, fans started making jokes about the lack of Yukana. Nene is back and she's now a voice actor. Junichi reached out to her to do audio promotion for Kurahana's manga. The thing is, her voice acting career hasn't really been going so well, so she was ecstatic when Junichi reached out. Learning about this news, Junichi says that he wants to help her achieve her dream. A few chapters later, some of the characters end up staying in a haunted house where they end up exorcising a ghost. After the exorcism, they end up going to a rock festival. After Yukana's cooking competition, Junichi and Yukana take a trip to Okinawa and end up getting stranded on a deserted island. But they are saved within 24 hours. So the last 40 chapters have been a whole bunch of nothing. Ninjas, ghosts, and deserted islands sound cool, but they're all kind of out of left field when it comes to this manga. Junichi still doesn't have a dream of his own. He's just been helping other people with their dream. His and Yukana's relationship hasn't really grown. In fact, she disappears for a good while. But it seems like the author is finally trying to course correct. What am I talking about? Well, we are 3 chapters away from catching up to where the manga is currently. Something big ends up happening. It's what prompted me to make this video. So without further ado, let's go ahead and cover the remaining 3 chapters. So after getting back to their hotel room, after being saved from the deserted island, Junichi is about to turn in for the night. But Yukana stops him. Seems like she's in the mood and asks if he wants to join her in the shower. Of course, he takes her up on her offer. In the past, when they would do stuff like this, normally she would just wear a swimsuit, but this time she was wearing a birthday suit. Seems like she's serious about getting intimate with Junichi this time around. After the shower, they move back to the bedroom. And surprise, surprise, there's no interruption this time. He finally gets to play Super Smash Bros. So that was chapter 199. You're all caught up. It's been 10 years since the manga started, and he finally got to graduate. I wonder if the author is doing this now because he's finally listening to fans, or because the manga was getting close to 200 chapters and he wanted to do something special. Whatever the reason is, I'm glad the manga is finally course correcting. So now that I'm caught up to the manga, I can see why it never got a season 2. For the most part, after the anime, it's just a whole bunch of nothing, especially these past 40 chapters. But that's not to say that the manga has been all bad. Junichi's and Yukana's relationship did have a steady growth, at least up to chapter 150, which is where the manga really started to nosedive in quality. But now it seems like the manga is back on track. I wonder how much longer the manga is gonna go now that he's graduated. Before you leave, do me a favor and leave me some feedback in the comments down below. When I do future what happens after the anime videos, should I go into more detail or keep it, to the most important stuff? What anime should I do a what happens after the anime video on next? Please leave your comments down below. And if you liked this video, like the video. And if you like me, subscribe to me. And as always, this has been Broken, and I'll catch y'all next time.